For the last few years, it's felt like if you wanted anyone to see your photography on Instagram, you had to put it in a short form video. I think we can all agree that this has been super annoying and it's really watered down the process of sharing your work and it's put a lot of us off. But I can see a possible shift on the horizon, especially for those of us who are mourning the older days of the internet. I think photos are actually making a comeback. But of course, Instagram is never going to make it that easy for us. So there are a few tips and tricks that I want to cover in today's video. We will be discussing the rise in short form video fatigue, a new way to approach posting on Instagram as a photographer that will get you a lot more engagement, and share the results of a little experiment I did on my own Instagram that really surprised me. So if you weren't aware, social media and just screen time in general is now being compared to addictive substances, and it's becoming a real problem in our society. But don't worry, I am not here to make you feel guilty or try and give you some digital detox plan to curb your screen time. I'm simply pointing out that the rise in short form video across all platforms has become something that we are getting sick of. I think we are all feeling immensely fatigued by the constant opinions and unsolicited advice of people popping up in these 20, 30-second videos that kind of just feel like we are being just bombarded with all of this information and opinion just constantly 24/7. These short form videos are taking up a lot of space, but they're not really offering us anything in return. They're not enriching us like YouTube videos do, or podcasts or long form blog posts do. Short form video is basically junk food and it's making us all ill on the internet. Think about this for a second. Looking at an image is soothing and calming. It's still, whereas watching endless videos is quite taxing on us. We have to process all this information, this trending audio, the captions, the fast cuts. It's a lot. Images just simply don't make us feel like this. And I think that's why we are all feeling so exhausted online. I know from my analytics that a lot of you watching are in my age group of your early 30s, and you might remember the early days of the internet, things like Tumblr, which is where I found a lot of my favorite photographers like William Eggleston and Ren Heng. And looking at images felt like this really amazing, inspiring thing. And I just don't feel like that on Instagram anymore. So I believe that the revolt against short form video has begun, and the photo will reign supreme again. My observation of the return of the photo needed some hard evidence, so I decided to do a little experiment on my own Instagram. I have posted a series of carousels of just static images and decided to look at them and how they stacked up against my reels that usually in the past have performed quite well. And I was very surprised. Recently, I saw a video by Peter McKinnon, who I'm sure you all know, and he talked about ditching the idea of having this hyper curated feed on Instagram that a lot of us photographers would have had back in the day and are still trying to keep now. And it really inspired me. I loved what Peter said about just using Instagram in this casual way to share your life and not put so much pressure on it. So feeling at a loss on Instagram, I decided to implement this a few months ago and just take a more casual, candid approach to Instagram. I did carousel posts of things that were happening in my life and even some iPhone photos, which for me is a big leap because normally I post things that I've taken specifically, images on film or on my digital cameras that have been edited. I did notice that funnily enough, these posts did really well, which can be both good and bad. So after seeing some success with these posts, I wondered if I could somehow use this same model, but take it a little bit further and share my actual photography, the thing that I really want to be sharing online, and see the same success with static posts. So for a little bit of context here, we have seen carousel posts get slightly more traction than reels. And if you're someone who follows like that guy with the glasses who tells you what's going on Instagram, or you watch any videos from social media gurus and you keep up with what's going on Instagram, then you will see that the photo dump or any kind of carousel post has been slightly more on the rise than reels, or kind of about the same. But really overall, over the last few years, we have all felt the pressure to make reels. And I know so many photographers don't want to do this. And it's also just not a very nice way to share your photography, having it flash up, one after the other, and not really give it the time and space that it deserves. You might have noticed lately that people are writing on their posts, and this is a feature that Instagram have actually rolled out, and I'll show it on the screen here for you so you can see what I'm talking about. And I see it being done in a lot of other niches, but not necessarily in the photo one. Now, writing on your photo might sound like a really horrible idea unless it's a Polaroid, but stick with me here because I'm going to give you lots of different options of how you can use this to get more engagement and more eyes on your photography. And it's so much better than having to film and edit and learn all these new skills and jump on camera and talk in reels. So stick with me. So what we want to do overall with this strategy of writing on your posts or giving just some extra context is to tell a story. And naturally, as photographers, we are storytellers and we are normally trying to convey some kind of message or story or, documentation of our day, what happened. So we're just taking that a step further with a caption, I suppose, but it's going to be on the photo because this is a lot easier. It sounds so lazy, but it's a lot easier for people to process when it's actually sitting on the photo. And I'll show some examples here. People are unlikely to read a big wall of text in a caption. It's just true. Our attention spans are lowering. So this strategy is working really well because it's all there on the tile for people to see. And they no longer just look at a photo and have to try and ascertain what's going on or read between the lines, which I know that can also be really annoying. It just gives people an access point. And online, on the surface level, we do just have to do that because then we invite people to go a little bit deeper with us. This is just going to catch their eye. You don't have to tell some big epic tale here when you put these carousel posts together. So I'm going to give you an example. Maybe you are a landscape photographer and you've gotten up early, you've gone on a hike because you're going to go and get some really cool sunset photos. So if you were going to post these photos just as they are, just as a carousel with no extra text or anything on them, depending on your following, maybe you'll get engagement, maybe you won't. But I challenge you next time to try this approach. So consider documenting part of the journey. So, when you're getting your camera gear ready in the bag or taking a few behind the scenes photos of the location of you kind of getting there from your point of view with your camera around your neck, documenting part of it and just showing the journey to getting to the photo, not just showing the result. This is a lot more engaging for people and it also allows them to see the gear that you used and, what it took to actually get you to that place to take that beautiful photo. This is an opportunity for you to tell more of a story about you as a photographer or the journey that it took to get to the final result, or something like the gear you used, how you edited the photo, all of those sorts of things. Because when I post photos, I know people always ask those questions. So why not tell them on the post? These are things that people want to know. If the idea of showing your beautiful landscape sunset photo with text on it is making you cringe, then what you could do is post a photo with nothing on it and then post the photo with the text on it. So there's two versions and there's one that's untouched by anything and you're still getting to post your photo the way you want, but you're just kind of meeting Instagram halfway. I did this a couple of times on my feed recently and I saw the posts exceed 20K views, which is actually more than a lot of my reels have been getting lately. And I'm not mad about that because it is so much easier to pop some photos in Canva, make little collages, add elements, add text, tell a story. I find it really fun to do than to script short form content, deliver it and have to worry about a hook and watch time and water down my message and then have it edited and put it out only to see it not really do that well. A post I made that did really well and is definitely something that you guys watching could use as a blueprint and even steal, go ahead, is talking about focal length. So I recently did a video on YouTube. I used a 28mm lens, which for me is definitely outside of my comfort zone. And I just put together a post of me with the camera and the lens. And I headed it up with saying, here are the results of me shooting my 28mm lens. I then followed it up with the images. I wrote on them to explain how I found the process and how it differed to the photos I normally get. all that kind of stuff. I did splice in images that had no writing on them as well because they were ones I really liked and just wanted to showcase them. And I did do a little bit of BTS in between, just showing a top-down photo of me with the camera around my neck. So super simple. It took me maybe 10-15 minutes to put this together in Canva. And it was also an idea that I had already fleshed out on YouTube. So I was repurposing it on Instagram. So if you are somebody who goes on regular photo walks, you're shooting with different gear, maybe you've bought a new piece of gear, maybe you're trying out a new film stock, you could easily replicate this. And I think that's really fun. It's like making a little digital zine and then you put it into a carousel post. This is the first time that something on Instagram has been introduced, like this being able to write on your photos feature in the app, and something I've seen that's trending or popular that I've actually been excited about and happy about. Another great thing that you could do to optimize this whole process is by taking blog posts or newsletters. Say if you're somebody who writes on Substack, which I know a lot of you are, you've come over to Substack since I did that video on it. You could reuse some snippets of writing from that post on your photos. If you're someone who writes camera reviews on your website, you could do the same. People love gear. So if you are somebody who really likes gear, I could see this format of posting working so well for you. Being able to write on the actual tile and have that really front and center for people to see is a great way to invite people to come over to the spaces that you own, like your website. So my main thing is I'm always trying to get people over to something else like Substack or YouTube or my website, lucylumen.com. That's because I can provide so much more value on these platforms. And if I can get someone over to my website, I get them to see my photography in the way that I want to and I can control because I made my website using Squarespace. If you want a professional looking portfolio to showcase your beautiful work or your photo projects, then Squarespace is the perfect place to host your online gallery. It's a great thing to do just for you personally as a photographer, but I have found it really great for pitching to potential clients or collaborators because I can just simply send them a link and showcase them the relevant work. And I find that they also take me a lot more seriously because they can see that I have a dedicated website. It can be very costly to get someone to design a website for you, which is why I chose to do it through Squarespace. There are so many templates designed specifically for photographers that make it really easy to put something beautiful and professional together. All I have to do is simply upload my images and then I can customize things like colors and fonts to make it unique to me so it still feels special. The reason you hear so much about Squarespace is because they honestly are the easiest and most seamless website option, and that is why I choose Squarespace. And better yet, your Squarespace website can grow with you. So if you decide down the line that you want to sell fine art prints or presets, digital products, or even photo walks, do fun things like that, you can do all of that on Squarespace by setting up an online store and take payments super easily. So if you've been thinking about building your own Squarespace website or you are loving them and wanting to renew, then use my code or link below. This really helps me to bring you more videos every week. It supports my channel and you get a beautiful website at a discounted rate as well. Having a website gives you the freedom that social media just can't. So just head to www.squarespace.com/LucyLumen to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code LucyLumen. So consider how you could be a little bit more planned next time you go out and shoot and get together a set of images that are going to tell a story about your photo, because this is such a great way to get more engagement and it's a great way for people who aren't just photographers to engage with your work too. I've found this way of posting to be really great too because I haven't actually had a lot of time to take photos lately because I've been so busy, but I am sitting on such a huge backlog of images, which I'm sure you are too. And I went back through some of these and put together a little post that explained a little bit about my photography style and how I love shooting the color red. And I grabbed images from years ago and I was able to repurpose them, and that post did really well too. To help you get the ideas flowing, I'm going to share a few ways that I could see this post working for photographers, and you guys can jot these down or you can walk away and hopefully be sharing on Instagram again in a way that you enjoy and you actually see some engagement and some growth. Share the journey. So this doesn't have to be something like my landscape example where you're going on this big walk or you're doing like a big, Route 66 road trip thing. We don't all have time to do that. So it could just be a neighborhood photo walk. Could be something really simple. The next one is to showcase the gear. So I mentioned this before, if you are somebody who has a lot of gear, and you could even just post a couple of photos that you've taken, but make it more about the actual gear, the lens, maybe you show the interior of the camera. If that's something that really interests you, that could be great. And then you could put little arrows towards things, the special features of the cameras. If you're someone who's like collected a lot of point and shoots, they often have quite quirky features you could point to. This is a great way to, get a community going around cameras, people who love them and want to talk about them. Another great one is breaking down a photography technique. So if you are somebody who does like product or food photography and you want to break down how the lighting works, or maybe you love doing long exposures or double exposures, self-portraiture, any kind of technique that you feel quite confident in, or you just want to share how you made the image and what technique you use to kind of pass the baton on to someone else. This style of posting where you write is such a great way to do it. Professional photographers who are looking to book more work, this is great for you because it diversifies your posting a little bit. You could post some BTS of a wedding that you shot or a fashion campaign, take some photos of the set. I love seeing like just iPhone photos of like behind the scenes of shoots because I'm like so fascinated by all the people and all the gear and all the things that are going on. And then another great one is inspiration. This isn't for everyone, but it's definitely something I like to do, is you could just share quotes. You could share advice or motivation for other photographers. Maybe you're an educator, you're a professional photographer, you're someone who just wants to inspire other creative people to keep being creative. Maybe photography has saved you. I know a lot of us do it for our mental health, and that's something you could talk about in a carousel post. And another one is it's a great way to introduce yourself. So if you're someone who's very shy and you don't like to jump on camera, then posting these static posts, just do a picture of you and then the rest of them could be something else. You don't have to do like 10 photos of you if that makes you feel uncomfortable. And you can just write on them to introduce yourself. Who are you? How old are you? Where do you live? This is really great if you're trying to build any kind of personal brand. And also if you're a professional photographer or a photographer for hire in any way, because people really want to know like who you are and see more of you other than just your photos. I could go on here with ideas and I'm really excited about this new way of posting. It's definitely something I am going to keep doing. I find it really, really enjoyable in my spare time to put these together. And I'm already thinking about how I'm going to get other posts together with things that I have planned. Don't forget to also include your community. So ending the slide by saying, what's your opinion, or like, what's your favorite camera, or like, how do you take long exposures, whatever it is, try and just include people and give them a chance to interact, have their say. That's what social media is all about. I feel like we all have a very like negative, evil view of it at the moment, but really it's just a place to connect, have fun, share things. And if you use this tactic, I really think you'll enjoy it a lot more. I'm really excited to see photography actually make a comeback on Instagram. And come over and follow me over there so you can get inspiration and see which carousel post I make next. And if you aren't already on Substack, that is another great place to be on the internet for photographers. There's a really great community over there, and I am sharing a weekly free newsletter every Friday. There's a link below if you want to sign up to that. And don't forget that Squarespace discount code is below as well if you want to make your own website. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.